finish the job. Until one day they show up at the very end and say, "Hey, Dory, I just happen to remember you owe me some money." And Dory says, "Watch this. Everybody read it. See my Dory invitation?" No, they ain't gonna, no bueno. It's not going to happen. Why? So then if we have expectations that we put on other people, does God not have expectations? Does he not have standards that we're going to be judged by? So all of this leads us to this doorway. The problem is that therein lies this situation. So many of us, when we become Christians, we don't have a problem doing this. We don't have a problem accepting this thing, and we think this is easy. Until we come to the door. Oh, I've got change. Yeah. You have to change. You have to go through this door. That is shin. It represents teeth, sharpness, a flame. Most importantly, God's presence. Teeth, because it breaks it down. It chews it. It's just, you're giving something, and man, you're going it over and over. You're chewing it down, and you're thinking about it. This is all that you think about. This is what you're living off of. This is what you're breaking it down. You're constantly after this thing. I sit and I catch myself. I'm sitting in a chair yesterday in Deerwoods, and all I'm thinking about is the things that are on my mind. Thinking about this. God, show me the thing. Show me your path. I'm chewing these things out, chewing these words out. Thinking about the Council of Nicaea. Thinking about all these different things. Thinking about, okay, Lord, am I preaching? Am I teaching? What am I doing? Am I breaking this thing down? So I'm breaking it down further. It has a sharpness to it. It's sharper than a two-edged sword. It actually has a cutting, David. It starts cutting this thing. Starts cutting these things off of you and out of you. The next thing, it is representative of the consuming fire. It's that fire. We go through it, and the thing is that we go through it, we go through this doorway, and now as we face this doorway, now we're facing the fire and the presence of God. And it causes us to think we're being consumed as we're stepping into God's presence. He says, God is a consuming God. If you want to sanctify, be consumed by God. Be consumed by the whole thought of Kadesh. A derivative of Kadesh is Kadosh, which is another thing of holy. Kadosh was a song that when I was in Kenya, on the border of going, I think, in Uganda, I'm looking at these machine guns and these guards that are posting there, and I'm thinking about all the stories that I've heard. And I had just gotten into Messianic praise and worship. Messianic praise and worship is a Jew that has accepted Yeshua as the Messiah. So he's God's chosen people who has turned to Yeshua. It's been said that there's no Christian like a Messianic Christian. In other words, a Jew that truly accepts Yeshua and understand, and man, it's just something about direct descendants. Man, it's just, all we can do is like, we look at other people who have these families and kind of go, I wasn't born in that crap. It's my family. Why couldn't I? I see people, Eric, and I drive by and I look at their homes, I'm like, boy, you're talking about multi-generational wealth. And then I look at, man, we got multi-generational trailers. But the thing is, and that is what it is. But the thing is that, man, when you start getting into God's presence, and this song, I was getting into this Messianic praise and worship, and it's called Kadosh. And this woman sings it. And it just put goosebumps up my arms just thinking about, because I was consumed, because I was going off into a land that I didn't know what was going to happen. I wanted to walk in the presence of God, and so I totally consumed myself and was consumed by I was sitting there, and I remember looking up the machine guns and looking at all the things, and in the back of my mind, I would start singing the song, Kadosh. Kadosh also is a prayer of holiness. It's a worship. And I'm worshiping God. I'm not begging God to take this trouble away, get this thing out of my life. Hey, God, I need this. Hey, God, I need that. Twice, he said, Moses cried out. He says, show me your face. Show me your face, O Lord. The song, another messianic, he says, we did not come for your hand, O Lord. We come for your face. Think about this. Artie and I was talking about children and grandchildren and how children and grandchildren, he says, I go visit my parents. I go see my parents. He says, that's something that kids and grandchildren should do. Go see and visit their family. They should go see and visit their parents, stuff like that. That is our obligation, is to look. But the kid, that every time they come around, they're always seeking your hand. They're not seeking your face. They don't want to see you. You know, Catch in the Cradle and the Silver Spoon. He said, by the way, can I have the keys to the car, Dad? That's all. He said, see you later. Can I, you know. I've lived that song. But to have this existence to where we're not looking for the hand of God to always bail us out. We're looking for God's presence. The problem is that we don't really want God's presence all the time in our lives. Why? Kyle, why do we not want God's presence in our life full time?
We don't like people telling us what to do.
Bam. Or maybe telling us what not to do. Or maybe not even telling us, because I think that there's a point in our life where if we're honest, we know. God doesn't have to tell us. It's that look. It doesn't tell you. The look tells everything. My wife, I can tell someone I do something like, what? For years, I studied under my mentor. And my mentor, every time I'd say something when I was learning this ritual, he would sit there and he had this thing. He'd sit there and he'd just listen to it. Hours and hours and hours recite the same thing. And he'd sit there. All of a sudden he'd go. I knew instantly. I'm like, what? Or he'd go. He'd point. And he didn't have to say a word. I'm like, what was it? What did you say wrong? Well, heck, man, if I knew, I wouldn't have said it wrong. That's what I'm telling. If I knew, I wouldn't have said it wrong. What did I say wrong? This right here. Okay. Now that I know it, he said, say it back again. And I'd say it again. There you go. Right there. Which one? Correct me. Tell me what I'd done wrong. So later, as I was working under other teachers, they'd sit there and they'd stop. And I'd stop. And they'd look at me, Emily, and they'd go, what? I said, you stop. Yeah? Well, that's how my teacher did me. So I figured, if you stop, yeah, I made a mistake. He said, no, I just listened to you. What the crap? You have to learn your teacher. When I would invoke that presence, and I was engulfed by the presence of God, I could sit, man, and I could look at machine guns. I could look. Imagine, if you're in Africa, has anybody ever really been in a third world country? I mean, I know to where you remember. But the thing is that, have you ever seen anything darker than a third world country? Ain't, is it? Have you ever seen anything darker than Africa? Because guess what they have in Africa? Black people. And have you ever seen a real African? They ain't light skinned. AJ, there's your shirt. They are black. And so when you have a black person in a black uniform carrying a black rifle, and you're walking down the road, because I get up every morning. And why? Because God told me. Because I knew that this man and his wife, every morning would walk through the slums and walk through the city and praying over everybody. Money ain't going, David. Heck no. All of a sudden, guess what? God says, Monty, you got to go. He didn't tell Sean, the guy who went with me, Sean Johnson, to go with me. Matter of fact, I mentioned it to Sean. Sean said, what are you doing, man? I said, I'm walking. He said, why? I said, God told me. He said, I ain't going. The difference is, God told me. And so I went. Why did I go? Because I wanted a chance encounter with God. I knew that if I would follow God, I would meet God somewhere down the road. And so the thing is that wherever he leads me, I will follow. And so I got up and I walked. And Lance, I can tell you, man, when you're walking down the road and you're kind of walking into the sun and you're looking back there and all you see is a silhouette and you know that guy's carrying machine guns. And they didn't like Mzungus. I'm a Mzungu. I'm a white. They really liked us. They liked us, and I'll tell you what they liked about us. They knew that they could kidnap us and take us somewhere and hold us for ransom. Yeah, that's what they did over there to white people like us. Because they knew we was worth money to somebody. And they would pay. Or they would just kill us just because we was Christians and they're Muslims. So I'm walking down the road, and all of a sudden, I'm looking up there, I'm making out to shaking. You know what Monty did? I started singing. Why? Because I needed help. And I need to praise God. And if I'm going to die, guess how I'm going to die? I'm going to die praising God. I'm telling you God's honest truth. Because guess what I couldn't do? I couldn't turn around and walk the other direction because they're walking too. That was the direction God said go. So guess what Monty had to do? And buddy, you think it ain't spooky when you get closer and you finally see bigger shapes and you're kind of like, oh crap, and you're like, and they pass you. And I don't know if you've ever passed anybody because you realize that's when the attack comes. When you turn and they attack you from behind. You're tense for at least 20 to 30 steps. But you don't want to turn around. Because what's the last thing you do? Is turn around. Then you face your trouble. All that being said, is I did turn around. I walked. I walked and I sung. And I sung the song, Kadosh. That's what I sung. Holy is the Lord. Adonai, Elohim, the Most High God. That's what I sung. That's the whole song it sings about. And still to this day, I get goosebumps thinking about that walk. Monty started this thing, wondering why. What some of y'all don't know, I started this thing back when we reformed the church. Just a few of us. I stopped praying. I stopped reading. I stopped doing it all. God wasn't real to me. I just gave up. Then I looked back and I said, okay, God, teach me to love your word. Teach me how I can study. I don't give a crap about reading. I hate reading the Bible. I'll just be honest with you. Why? Because I'm not successful at reading the Bible. I read the Bible during 5 minutes, I'm asleep. It ain't going to happen. But buddy, get me on the trail of the Word of God and let it start seeing how these words mean all these things and how this Word really is alive. And all of a sudden, next thing I'm realizing that through this Word that I thought was just like, well, this right here. If we want to fix our world, we want to fix all these things. You realize it's us that's going to do it. How do we do it? We have to set apart a time. And yes, it is time. It is truly time that we make the decision. Like I said, if you want to go through this door, the doorway is a fast. That's the first thing. Sanctify ye a fast. In other words, you are going to set apart something that you're not going to do. One of the things that hit me this morning was setting apart our phones. And I had to think about that. There's a difference between reading, because I read on mine. That's my Kindle. That's what I have. But it's these videos that you watch. I watched a guy the other day. I'm going to close on this. He said he is terrified right now. He says the most dangerous thing that is out right now, the most singular dangerous thing that is out right now, is the algorithms that are hidden and embedded within the videos that you're watching. Because we are being fed, we are being indoctrinated, we have been programmed, whether you want to admit it or not. I know I am, because a lot of the things that I'm seeing, that I'm resonating, I can watch and I can see it, whether it's black fatigue, whether it's all these different things that you're going through. Our nation and our world right now is being deprogrammed and reprogrammed. And this guy says that what they're embedding and what these videos are accomplishing are the most dangerous attack that the people have ever gone through the existence of. And I believe it. I believe it. I believe it. If you don't believe that algorithms are true, look at your feeds. You're being fed.
I mean, you'll have stuff pop up that you weren't even searching.
Or you say something and there it is.
They're always
Like
listening.
an hour ago, and you'll just be shopping and talk about something, and it'll pop up. Like,
Exactly.
hey, there it is.
The thing is that we're being constantly bombarded. And so that's one of the areas that I'm looking at is my fast. But it's not just a fast. There is more to it than this. I told you, we've been shown that there's a doorway. Nothing personal. I've got to go down that doorway. I have got to go through this. Why? Because here's the thing. I see the frailty of my existence. I'm going through an issue right now in my teeth. That's why, if y'all notice, I've got this teeth thing. I'm having a hard time talking now. It's terrible. If you see me trying to say a word, and sometimes I can't say them, Lance will see it, and I'll be frustrated because I can't talk. I grind my teeth. It's not grinding, it's like I'm flexing my jaw. It affects my hearing. It's one of the many things that I have. If you'll notice, I scratched my arm. About 4 years ago, I sprayed a combination of poison on my arm, spraying killing plants at the cabin, and it's itched ever since. There's no telling what else I do. I'm a walking death sentence, really, what I am. Okay, I'm gonna live, and when I die, I die. But I guarantee you one thing, I am going to change my life. I am going to, because the thing is, as a leader, I will be judged by how I live. You will make your decision of how you're going to walk. You will make your decision about this next step. We have to come to this understanding that our world is in trouble. And there's so many things that I think that God wants to reveal to us. He wants to show us. He wants to show our true purpose. But we can't walk in our true purpose because we ain't got time for it. Think about it. We don't have time for it. We've already decided that we're either one of two things. We're either quo, which means mundane, or kadosh, which means holy, which means sanctified, which means set apart. Scripturally, he says, "Come ye out and be ye a separate people." Can't nail it. More plainer than that. What do you want to be? The problem is being separate. And this is what I said about this boy over here. If he goes and he gets clean through a year or whatever detox, he's already caused severe mental brain damage. He's already caused so many things. But the worst problem is that, and this is what Lance and I was talking about, what if he did get clean? What if he did get clean? Where's he going to go?
Right back to the same place.
Because that's
That's all
so.
you know.
He has nothing else. He has nobody else. Nobody. That's why it's so hard if somebody wants to quit smoking or somebody wants to quit drinking and then they're around people who are smoking, who are drinking. My brother-in-law died of liver failure because of drinking every day. I watched him turn yellow. He died of liver failure. Me and Mom was looking outside at his funeral. After his funeral, after they buried him, we watched him go through and lose everything he'd worked for. Did cement work. Yeah, the man was rolling. And he spent every dime in the end, Lance, because he did not have help, did not build a business, did not have this thing, did not invest in somebody else to bring him in. He says, I don't want to deal with people. I just want to do it myself. I said, okay, when you get sick, what are you going to do? I just die. I watched him die with nothing. Nothing. And after he died, that night, me and Mama looked outside the window, and there's his wife, my sisters, the family members. Guess what they're doing? What do you think they're doing? Getting drunk. I ain't smart. I ain't smart.